Another thing that I've noticed about people is that they will always say, for example, I watched a little bit of this interview yesterday between Dr. Phil and Netanyahu. Dr. Phil at this point is effectively an American pastor. I see Dr. Phil, he looks like and talks like an American pastor from Texas. I think he is from Texas. He gives the impression of being a pastor. He's a pastor who has some training in human psychology, and I think that's it. I think he's just a pastor. So I saw a little bit of the conversation between Dr. Phil and Netanyahu. And it just, to me, it looked like an interview between Pastor John Hagee and Netanyahu. And that's what it looked like to me. But I was looking at the comments, and these comments were just ridiculous to me. I saw one guy, he said, now this is journalism. Well, why do you say this? And I see this so many times in videos on YouTube. Now this is journalism. What do you mean by this is journalism? You mean you agree with Netanyahu, or you agree with Dr. Phil? Just say that. Just say, I agree with Dr. Phil. I love what Dr. Phil is saying here. And here's why. That's fine. Or just say, I love what Netanyahu is saying here. I agree with Netanyahu. I think he's a great leader. That's understandable. But why do people have to say, now this is journalism? Because what they really mean by that is they hate media outlets that say things that they hate. So if a media outlet says, hey, look, Israel is doing some really shady stuff over here. I hate this. This is bullshit. This isn't journalism, but the article is presenting evidence for what it's saying. It's not journalism. This is garbage. But if someone says something they agree with, now this is journalism. So journalism to you is just whatever you agree with. Which, really, if you think about it, that's not journalism. That's not journalism. That's just you having a narrative, and you want everyone to abide by that narrative. So if every journalist just said exactly what you agree with, then in your mind they're real journalists. But if every journalist just said exactly what you agree with, they wouldn't be journalists anymore. They would just be shills for your narrative, for your political faction. At that point, they would just be shills. When it comes to Israel, I like looking at Haaretz. I think Haaretz is my favorite website to go to when it comes to Israel, because Haaretz will give you information on bad stuff that Hamas does, but it'll also give you information on bad stuff Israel does. I've looked at other Israeli media outlets. I think I looked at all of them. I've looked at Y News or Ynet. I think Ynet's okay. Times of Israel is okay. There's Arutz Sheva. Arutz Sheva is basically just Israel can do no wrong. And then you have Israel Hayom. Israel Hayom. I don't remember. I should say Israel Hayom. You have Israel Hayom, which is basically just Israel can do no wrong. And if it's just Israel can do no wrong, I don't really look at those websites. And if it's just Palestinians can do no wrong, I don't look at those websites either. I don't. Middle East Eye and these sorts of electronic intifada type websites, I don't look at them. I don't. I will not waste my time looking at those websites because they have a certain narrative that they want to push, and everything has to agree with that narrative. Everything has to bend to the will of that narrative. And that's just something I don't really want to stand for. That's why I cringe every time I hear someone say, now this is real journalism. What that basically means is I agree with this person, so therefore it's journalism. But if every journalist just does exactly what you want them to say, just says exactly what you want them to say, then it's no longer journalism. No one's really being a free thinker at that point. Everyone is just confined by the walls of your narrative. And that's freaking insane to me. That's just absolutely insane. And if that were the case, then none of us would ever really change. We would all just stay on the same road, and we would be completely imprisoned by our own bias. And that's insane. That's completely insane. I believe that as human beings, if we don't change our mind on anything in the years of our existence, then we're just robots. Listen, I grew up being taught a certain narrative. And there were moments in my life when I said, this is wrong. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just not going to do this anymore. This is crazy. There were moments in my life where that happened. It was just like, no, not going to do this. Arutz Sheva is made by Orthodox Jews. It is. I knew a lady who works for. I'm not sure if she still works for there, but my dad used to do a lot of work with Arutz Sheva